Hey folks, happy Monday. It's live. Who are you rocking with? You know who you're rocking with. Who are you rocking with? You're rocking with live with That's who you're rocking with. Ancestrylands, folks. I'm happy to be here. Are you happy to be here? Happy Monday, everybody. You're live with Uncle Phil. I hope you've had lunch. Again, always we try to go right after lunch so your bellies are full and your ears are ready to listen. And you might have the itis, but we'll still hope you listen and talk about it, right? Right now, the people on the East Coast are just finishing up lunch, getting through the workday, trying to figure out whether they want to stay or go, getting over people that they can't stand, talking to them. How was your weekend, folks? My weekend was great. I actually had a wonderful weekend. As you know, I do have my kids in violin practice. Um, they go every Saturday. We pay for that out of pocket, but again, that's something that we thought would be very great for them to learn in addition to their regular education. Shout out to the people on the West Coast. Oh my goodness, the West Coast. What's going on with West Coast California? You guys are getting snow. I've got reports in, and in-laws are telling me that people sliding all around, people getting into car crashes. People don't know how to drive on the snow. Retard. They never get snow like that. I guess. But I've seen back in even Northern California, the mountains are covered in snow, hills are covered in snow. Californians don't know what to do. I'd say buy a coat, folks. We've got a lot of things to talk about today, folks. One, certain things I'm going to be discussing today. 50 Cent teaches a business game, for all you hood people out there. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to go through that and share some of what my research shows or elements or takeaways from his video that I think are very important for people to take away and learn from the key items that he identifies and how he made his first, I guess you would say, his $1 billion deal that everyone knows that 50 made. Mr. Curtis Jackson, respects to him. Michael B. Jordan also gets some of his, I would say, his just desserts revenge, proving once again that the quality men are never selected up front. They're always selected later on. And that's something that we have to talk about. I spoke about that before in earlier videos. These are recorded videos where I've talked about, a person such as Michael B. Jordan. Anybody know about Michael B. Jordan? He grew up in Newark, New Jersey, went to high school. He actually was on the doing a runway premiere or a red carpet premiere, and he happened to be stopped by a person that was interviewing him who actually went to high school with him, and he didn't forget her. And that's we're going to focus in on that a little bit. I'm going to try to bring up little bits of that clip that he talked about, but they said he was corny. They made jokes about him, Michael B. Jordan. He was corny because he had obviously Michael Jordan's name, but he's Michael B. Jordan. Even though, for whatever reason, they had always picked on or talked about him. And, now he's a mega superstar, and, the woman has to come and interview him. And she pretended like she had never said those things, and salute to Michael B. Jordan for having enough, manliness to be actually go and talk to her and say, hey, you remember me? I was that guy that was corny. And what I did take from that was the feelings of what I went through as a kid. We talked about it with Kobe Bryant. We talked about it with other, other people that don't fit within the narrative of what is considered the black culture, the thugs, the drug dealers, the people with all of these, I'm sorry here, I'm hitting my mic here, folks. The people who I always talk with my hands, East Coast people, we talk with our hands. Everything's got to be hands, your hand signals. Ha 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 ha. Shout out to Busta Rhymes. Hoo hoo hoo. Any which way, the one thing I liked about it was that it harkened back to days in the early '90s where all the girls were going for the thug dudes, the guys who sagged their pants, the jewelry, and it was harder for guys, even such as myself, who we didn't identify with that kind of element, that identification. That wasn't something that we looked at and said, okay, that's me. I'm not fitting that mold. And Michael B. Jordan, all the girls, I'm sure he had difficulties dating women, the desirable girls, and his and in the high school he went to. And now that he's become a superstar, top megastar, the women now that are making fun of him, they don't look as good as him, and they obviously haven't gone up to be as successful as him. But at the beginnings, when he was, I guess you would say, a nobody, He was going to be somebody one day, but he wasn't somebody that moment. And that asks the question of, as far as are women great investors and men? They always have a saying, women don't, they don't run the race with you. They wait at the finish line and pick the winner. But that's good in part, right? But the other part of that is that the winner also gets to pick. And Michael B. Jordan seemed like he wasn't into picking, he was into reminding her at that time. He remembers what she said. And for someone to carry that, I don't think that's a petty moment. I think that's remembering when he felt some kind of way and they sat there and laughed at him because 17, 18 years old, popping bubble gum, hanging out with the cool kids, it's cool to join in and joke with somebody, because his name was Michael Jordan. Might be Michael B. Jordan. But now he is someone that can stand in the room next to Michael Jordan and they can have a conversation. He can have access to those kind of people. But now she can't. She's one of many. But he never forgot what they said about him in that time. And now he's a superstar that, and honestly, I would have loved to just see him say that and then walk off and not do the complete the interview. But one thing I noticed that, he definitely let her know that he remembered what she said. But she wanted to bring up that she was associated with him in high school and she forgot about it, but he remembered it. And that's something that I think, men nowadays, there are a ton of men out there who are going through that. They're not the high school jock. They're not the cool kid in college that all the girls want. They've got all the great potentials in the making. They've got the desire. But again, are women willing to invest in that? Or do they pick what looks like a right now winner? Are they picking the cool guys? And again, are they picking off cool points or are they picking off quality? I ask that because when women are engaged in relationships with men, and that kind of moves up into, okay, high school. Let me just say this: high school, everybody's dating. Should it be taken that serious? No. But at the same time, if you're going to be entangled with someone in the physical realm, then it has to move into the adult realm of you're now giving away parts of yourself. And what is the ultimate in return? I mean, how many high school relationships go on to actually be marriages? You know what I mean? I mean, again, that girl made fun of Michael B. Jordan back in high school, allegedly according to what he said, and she seemingly acknowledged it. And now he's going back, and I mean, you can look it up. You go on YouTube, you'll see it. If you look up Michael B. Jordan at the time, you'll see the girl was in there, and she, he's talking to her. Let me see if I can pull it up. I'm going to pull it up and try to pull it up without any kind of Jordan. Yeah, I mean, it's popular right now in the news right now. The interview that happened when I guess this is on the Creed 3 that he's up there. I don't even want to try it because I don't want to get any copyright thing. But again, this is the you're not corny anymore. That's what he red carpet premiere. And it's Michael B. Jordan confronts an interviewer who made fun of him when they were kids in school. But it's okay now that he's popular to claim the clout in association with them. But again, there wasn't no upfront investment. You weren't being his friend, you were being his, I don't know. I mean, person who's making fun of him, whatever you want to call that. And that's my point. He went on to do things like The Wire. He was in I think it was Friday Night Lights where he played Vince, a football player. And then he went on to, do other, what was it, Fruitvale Station. He's done many of other, movies to now mega celebrity. And again, she wasn't invested in him then, but now is this an embarrassment on a world stage? The reason why I asked that, I'm going to get into this on the front end because I want to get the women conversation out the way. I want to get that over with because I think it's important to ask women this question, even younger women out there. And I thought about this over the weekend. You have these boyfriend long-term relationships, not marriages, long-term relationships. When I met my wife, one of her friends was dating a guy for 11 years. So that means it went from high school all the way up into, early adulthood. I met my wife when I was in my 30s. She was in her early to mid 20s. And I saw the friends like, oh man, you dated this guy for 11 years. And of course they broke up. But again, You spent 11 years with a man that was not invested in any quantifiable, there was no marriage, there was no children, nothing of that was gotten out of this long-term relationship. And then I went on to meet more women that were friends of my wives that have been in 6, 7, 8 year relationship, having kids with men not married. And again, are women giving away good years without any commitment from men? Are women actually staying in relationships, giving up their 20s to be with men who are not commit to them? And then they either have children with them or don't have children with them. And now you're out on the market with having a long term relationship. And then here's the problem. And women may not know this. And again, I'm not attacking women. I just want women to understand this. If you meet a guy like me, and I'm hearing that and I'm talking about in a single time, when you meet a man and you've been in a 5, 6, 7 year relationship and you're in your mid 20s and you didn't get married to that person, the first thing I'm going to ask as a man is, why didn't that guy marry you? Why did that relationship go 5 years and there was not there? And of course, you're going to hear the woman's iteration of what is wrong with the relationship. You're going to hear her version of why that relationship ended, but we don't have the man's take on it. So a man has now got to make some kind of deductive reason. I mean, you got to be damn near Sherlock Holmes at this point to be able to try to figure out that. And it leaves you with an uneasy, um, feeling of, you could go 5 years with this woman, think you're going down the path of being in a long-term relationship, because a man's saying, hey, if I spend 5 years with you, I'm settling down. But again, are they investing in the wrong man at that point? And there are a lot of men out there that I think should hear this, because if you do hear a woman see a woman like that, and you're asking, well, why have you been with this guy 5 years and you've never gotten married? Well, I didn't want to get married. I was just having fun. But you're in a 5 year relationship. How many women have been in long term relationships and there was no marriage? And the reason why I say marriage is important in that aspect is because you're investing 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. You're investing good years of your youth away to a guy that is not giving you any qualified outcomes. In the same way that a man would not be spending on a woman, money on a woman who has no, he's taking her out to dinners and there is no furthering of the relationship. How would you do that for 5 years? I would ask the men that. Would you take a woman out on a year's worth of dates without it going any further? Here's the scenario. You pick her up, you take her to a restaurant, dinner and the movies, there, or whatever she wants to do. You take her on a vacation to wherever you want to go. I mean, the nice beaches, is it the Maldives, is wherever you're going. Would you do that for a year and the relationship has not progressed further than the get to know you phase? Which means you're not getting anything on the vacation. You're not getting anything. There's no physical engagement. There's no nothing. You're doing that for a whole year. What about 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? Who would spend that kind of resources with a person to not get past, we're just talking on the phone? So why would a woman do that with a man and stay with him 5 years? You don't have a house that you own. You don't own any property. You don't own any land, which if you did, you would buy from Ancestrylands, my company. We sell land always. I always try to talk to people about that. You're not building any resources that can give you long-term outcomes into the future. And again, when I look at it, I'm not speaking from the point of, that, getting married to take half of the stuff away. But if you're going to be with a man for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, to this girl 11 years, and I mean, you're just giving away time and relationship. Are you imprinted to that guy? I mean, how does a guy, I mean, 5 years and you're in your mid 20s, or you 6 years with a guy, now you're getting into another relationship. You're bringing a huge amount of baggage, a huge amount of learned behavior. I mean, if you've ever been in a relationship living with someone for a year, there's a lot of habits throughout your day that you get used to having, with a person. A person likes to shower a certain way, or maybe you guys take showers together. Your relationship starts to become your routine starts to become circular around each other's natural quirks. You spend 2, 3, 4, 5 years with a person, you get with another person, the next guy coming in, He's think, oh wow, I've got this great woman. She's been in a long-term relationship, but she has habits and routine built on another man's, his platform, the way he does things, and that could be very efficient or broken at the same time. So you now have to get her to adapt, and for a woman, you have to try to adapt to maybe even a more qualified man's routine. How are you going to do that successfully when you've already put a great amount of time and your youth invested into a man who's not giving you any qualified outcomes? We talked about in my previous streams that most young women, young adult women, are actually in relationships with older men, older adults, that there are 60 something percent of young men out there who are single. So again, you are with this older guy, you're having fun, whatever that means. Look at I think I what is it?
Damn daddy.
Yeah, you're having fun with the older guy. You're not getting to any point of a relationship. You're not asking for marriage. You're not looking for, cohabitation or any other resources that get pulled together. And I'm going to explain why that'll be important in a little bit. I'm going to connect that a little bit later because here's the game. I'm trying to give you life game. And you're giving away your youth, you're giving away your ability to pair bond to a guy that you can actually build a successful relationship. And again, I know the I don't know why getting child support and being divorced, and when I say being divorced, I'm talking about I left him and I'm on my own, I'm independent, I got a child, I got children, and I'm divorced and I don't have a more qualified man. Why is that a badge of honor with women? Why is that like something to be proud of? And it's not something to be ashamed of, but it should be looked at a point of, did I make the right choices on the front end? Was I making an informed choice on the front end when I started dating and building with this guy? Because I do believe if you're in a marriage, marriages are like any relationship. You both are going in, with all intentions that the relationship will work. Well, we all know that relationships do suffer breakdowns along the way. There is a great possibility that any marriage or any relationship will break down. So, should not both people be looking at how do we build resources so that way our time has a quantifiable value associated with it? When I say that is that the man is building resources, and that's where sometimes kids come into play. You want children out of it because you want a legacy, or if you're with a woman who's quality of worth. And again, the problem most men I see make is that they do not date women of value. When I say value, is that you're dating someone that benefits more being in a relationship with you than you do with them, or equal. There's not enough trade-offs. There's not enough trade-offs for a man to build with a woman who will do things that will help further his economic upward mobility. We're usually getting women off their looks, how pretty they are, physical attributes, things that will not maintain their same pristine value or condition that they do now. Again, 10 years down the line, how much of the bed knocking can you do with a woman that's still going to keep you somewhat interested? Or the same guy is now, he used to have six-pack abs, now he's got two-pack abs. You know what I mean? So there's got to be something furthering the relationship at that point. Conversation, things of that such. I mean, and again, are women spending too much time being with a man that's not of value, that they're spending their good years having fun or whatever else? And then do you not take any baggage with you to a relationship? I mean, again, if and again, as you're getting older, because we talked about this in the other podcast, as you're getting older, new younger women are moving up into the young adult age, and they're now competing with you for those more qualified men, whatever economic range they may be in. So again, does not selecting a qualified mate, someone that you can get into a good investment relationship with, that is going to give you better outcomes, should that not be your focus? Or are you always getting with the thug? And that's where the Michael B. Jordan thing comes back in. Did this woman bypass a potential dating opportunity, a mating opportunity to be in a relationship and build something with the Michael B. Jordan because he was corny, and the other cool guy, which we don't know where he is, those guys were given a chance? And you passed up on a Michael B. Jordan for homie over there, homie the originally gun clapper, that guy, the guy who was cool, He had all the swag at the time. He had all the game at the time. That was the guy that she went for. And Michael B. Jordan was building himself up to have the potential to be a mega superstar later on. Because what ends up happening is in high school, those girls at the peak at the top of the demand for the guys in their age range and pretty much in high school. You go into college, you're still competing at that level, but they're picking non-qualifiable men that later on will yield a greater investment. That's not what they're interested in because they're picking winners at the time that are not losers. Again, they're picking sprinters in a race that's a marathon. They're picking sprinters right now. The guys that women are passing up, because that was the same way with me. Those guys, they're picking the sprinters. They're not picking the guys that are suited for the race of life. They're suited for the race right now. 100-meter dash, boom, bam. You get that 10 seconds of a great thing. But again, your life is longer than the sprinting race. It's a marathon. And then resources could become drier. You end up not liking that guy because you age out of his high school antics, his high school BS. And now he's not so cool no more. Now he's not what you wanted to be because you mature up and you're not looking for a mature man with a good head on his shoulders. You're not dealing with anyone that you can work and build with. And does that not create a sense of self, ladies? I mean, does that not build up your sense of ownership and belonging? Because I would feel this way. Any woman that's building something with a man is going to value the journey of them building something with an actual man that they both worked and accomplished and had the same risk of failing at. But when you pick a guy just because he's at the top, what loyalty do you have between each other? You pick a guy that's cool now. Well, in his perception in high school and college, every girl has picked him because he's cool. And he may be saying, they think I'm cool because I present this way. Maybe Michael B. Jordan did try to present as being cool. Maybe he tried to have braids or dreads now or cornrows or whatever was in. He tried to do the sagging pants thing, but he couldn't quite hit the mark like the other cool guys could. Because maybe he couldn't do the drug game or stand on the corner and hanging out late because he had to do certain things to become Michael B. Jordan. But those things that did not yield late term outcomes in life, they start to run short. That's the sprint. And then he keeps on picking up. He started far behind and now he's picking up the pace. And now he's past those guys. And the women say, but I've already had a baby by this guy. By Pookie and Ray Ray. I already had a baby by this guy now. And Michael B. Jordan is keeping on moving. He's moving up. Opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. Instead of picking that guy from the beginning, let me slide my mic back a little bit. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Instead of picking a guy like that in the beginning, you're now waiting for him to get further up in the race. Now you see signs of success and you want to grab onto that guy, but this guy has a demand of what woman he wants to as well. And I've asked women that too as well. Single women in their late 20s, hitting their early 30s, or even 30s. I've asked them, I said, what kind of man do you want? And you get this laundry list of things that a person will tell you about what they want about a man. And then I turn around and say, okay, well, what does the man that you want? This guy that has 6-figure income, he's no kids, he's not married, he has health insurance, life insurance, $50,000 saved, and just the list goes on. I want a man of God, it's just, again, pick a man, I call it the build a man workshop. That's what I hear when I talk to non-married younger women. And I say, well, what do you want as a man? Again, because men out there are actually real human beings. They're not just items you select off the store or order on Amazon. You can just pick what you want and a la carte add in qualities. Men are human beings raised by mothers and fathers too as well. We don't come prepackaged and pre-programmed, but they tend to put in these programmable things. I mean, they might as well be like, then Chat GPT can't even give you a man like that. And they pick items a la carte to put in to create a perfect man. And I asked, and I say, well, hey, what does that guy want? What does that guy want? You go and meet that guy. Okay, you meet Michael B. Jordan, but what does Michael B. Jordan want in a woman? And they can't answer me that. You know what they asked me? What do you think? And I was like, okay, but listen, if you have demands for a man, then you must be willing to submit to his demands if he qualifies for you, correct? But then what emerges is the arrogance of I don't need to, and that's where the breakdown comes. The arrogance of I can request what I'm not willing to put investment into. I'm going to go back to my investment analogy is that again, you invested in a guy who gave you nothing in return. If anything, you qualified more for him than he did anything to qualify for you, meaning that he was cool and you wanted a resource that you felt was very limited because if you didn't take uh Raheem or Jaheim or whoever it was, Billy Ray or whoever it was that was the cool kid at the time, then another girl was. But again, where are the fathers and the mothers to tell her about, girl, that boy ain't gonna be nothing in life. I can talk to him and tell you he has no plans for you in the future. But what do? We tell him, go ahead and go have some fun. You're young. Just be young and dumb. Why would we tell? And here's my thing about with parents. Why do we raise our kids to be smart and then give them an excuse to be young and dumb? Go ahead and learn life. Like life doesn't have lifelong consequences for making stupid decisions in life. So that's something parents need to kind of rectify with themselves and say, no, I'm sabotaging my children. They're not saying that my parents always warn me that I would have outcomes that I don't like later on in life if I make these choices. It's not the, hey, you're an adult. You can make decisions. Like they say, you have freedom, but you do not have freedom of consequences. You have freedom of choice. You do. We all have freedom of choice, but we do not have freedom of consequences. That's life. And you don't teach your kids. You want them to be great students in school, but you give them the waiver to be young and dumb in life. And I can be young and dumb and pick a person that, that I'm going to have children with and real economic outcomes, negative economic outcomes that are going to affect them in generations to come. And parents sit by and will push their kids out right into that cliff, that lemming cliff, and say, oh, she's just young. She got to live her life and figure it out. Like we have no responsibility in guiding them at that point. We'll try to set them up for a degree in school. Get smart, get a degree, get a great job. That's supposed to be smart decisions. But when it comes to partner choices in life, I ain't got nothing for you, baby. But I love my baby. That's what's it. And they didn't see a Michael B. Jordan saying, that kid goes to class. He goes to school. You know what? I see him having good manners. He looks like he has a good moral compass. When I talk to him, he seems like he's got drive and determination. He has a plan going somewhere in life. I can see him investing in himself. That boy is going somewhere. He's going some places in life, Michael B. Jordan is. When he was Michael B. Jordan, not Michael Big B. Jordan, Not in playing, and not playing Black Panther, Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan, but Michael B. Lil Mike B. walking by on the corner. Lil Mike B. going home to study, getting good grades. That's not the eye the parents had in picking that guy, because again, it's all about who's who. So we pick from the bottom and then we ignore the top. So Michael B. Jordan now is a megastar, and the girl's looking at him. And again, he's looking at us like, what did Drake say? He's like, you ain't really. Hold on, let me get my sense about, because I'm gonna say it for real. You ain't really baby back then, but how about now? Because I'm up right now. And you suck right now. Oh, you thought you had it all figured out back then, girl. How about now? Girl, how about now? And now he's looking at her as like, and again, but can you afford lifestyle at this point? And that's the question I have again. That's the question I have about the decisions that we make when we are choosing mates in our life or people that we're going to practice mating with, when let me get my
when you're getting all nasty in the sheets, like Barry White would say, show me your secrets.
Tell me all your secrets. Secret garden, right? And you're giving away pieces of yourself, not looking at a man who can give you qualified outcomes, not someone who can bring you upward mobility, not someone who can bring your children higher levels of education, supplemental music lessons, supplementing your lifestyle. Because now, as we see, we're going through inflationary periods, economic decline, recession. Again, Where are those economic upward mobility? Where are those resources coming in? I see more women today or having the end result of earlier decisions made with no thought for today. I was walking with one of my neighbors, Indian guy from India. Shout out to you, Anish. Walking with him earlier today. And I was explaining, we were talking about India and the way that structure is set up. He was telling me about, and I didn't even know this, there's actually reverse caste system and a forward caste system. And I learned that even in their culture, in their country, discrimination is still present in their areas. He asked me about business and the tax system here. And I told him, and I said, that's where I'm going to get into the 50 cent part, is that most people in America do not realize that the tax system was not set up for you as an individual. I'm going to go into detail on that. The US tax system was set up for you as a business. This is why I talk about people needing to have businesses. And I'm going to show you this video with 50 Cent. And this was about his deal. He passed up an endorsement deal. He actually went to get something called equity. But this is the main part of my discussion today, is that the US tax system, most people do not realize, is not set up for an individual worker. That is, you are a drone working for the colony that is the United States. It is set up for people to own businesses, and I'm going to show you why. All right, I'm going to get to this video here. I'm going to open this up. Give me a second here. This is a podcast. I'm getting all my stuff together, okay? And I'm gonna elaborate on why this is so
During a
important.
commercial for my Reebok sneakers that showed me
Okay,
working out in the
get to
boxing
this
gym,
point
we snuck in a
because I
shot
want
of
to
me
take my time, and I'm going to give you all some lessons on why I keep talking about you need to actually own a business. We get to here. Get to this part here. It's the entire screen. Here we go. Screen 2. I'm going to share this right now. Now, I've got this off someone's shorts or whatever else. This is 50 Cent talking about him turning down the $150,000 endorsement deal for equity with vitamin water. And we're going to hear about this right now. I'm going to add this. Hopefully everybody can hear the sound on this one. Here we go. Okay.
During a commercial for my Reebok sneakers that showed me working out in the boxing gym, we snuck in a shot of me taking a sip of vitamin water. A friend of Chris's who worked at Glasso saw the spot and reached out to see if I'd be interested in an endorsement deal. I agreed, but I counted with something different than the standard endorsement deal. Instead of taking a 5 or 6 figure deal to appear in the ads, I wanted to invest in the entire company.
Okay, now I'm going to stop it right there. So one thing, and I have some notes here, is the discussion of taking dollars versus equity. When you are working for a company in any facet, okay, and this is the reason why it made 50 Cent where he is today, in the sense of his business acumen, which we respect. And I have my notes here because I always like to take notes on this stuff. So, you see in a notebook is because I'm trying to give you valid points of things that are, this is very fast as far as you listening to it. You might miss some points here. The first thing that he talked about was that they wanted to give him 150,000 for his likeness, his image, to walk around drinking something that he already drank as a product. He had a different perspective. 50 wanted to take equity. Which anyone doesn't know is that instead of getting paid for something, because I've had this conversation with people before, if you take the money up front, you can't come and ask for equity later. When you're talking about equity, you're taking on the investment risk, same as the company, for a percentage of the profits. If the company goes to sell later on, you're going to reap some of the benefits from that. If the company loses money, you're going to reap some of the benefits from that. Too many people nowadays want to take dollars and then request equity. That's not how it works. And again, what did 50 also have? He had connections via network. This goes back to the limitations of being pro-black and all things black and everything blackity black that we talked about before. And am I saying that everything should not be within its own? No. Certain communities, such as the Hebrew derived community, where they are from Israel, that main religion there, they exchange a lot of dollars within their communities, but they're not limited to doing businesses just within their own culture or race at large. One of the problems with blacks is that we tend to try to stick everything on the black hand side. Black, 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 black. Like I talked before about people such as myself, we go out and integrate or assimilate and take back information. We learn about how to do businesses where we may be the only minorities in a room. And what we do is bring back knowledge that is not accessible to the community that we come from at large. Just like 50's doing. I mean, 50's doing it. So the difference between 50 and I is that he has the gangster background that is acceptable and qualifiable in the black community at large. Just like Michael B. Jordan did not have that until he had this now. Until he became Michael Big B. Jordan. When I pause, because I don't want to say that, in the pro, when I say Michael, he wasn't Mike, little Mike around the corner, Mike B. Jordan. He's now Michael B., the man, Creed 3, working with legendary actors and actresses. He's now up there with anyone that most young men would pay a date to go on with now or have dinner with, man or woman. The second thing he said in there was that they snuck a shot, and a person that worked at Glasso saw it and talked to Chris Lighty, a person that he was connected with. The reason why I talk about it's great to have a network. Who are you connected to? On this podcast, on this show, on this YouTube channel, you see me interview people such as Alex Coons at About You NYC, About You Outreach.org. You see me interview people such as Don Combs, Avon Coburn, Avon Coburn, former NFL player. Don Combs into STEM. They're working with government departments doing things I can't even talk about. Legit things that can further the efforts of the country and all things, space aeronautics and all that other sort. These are people that I'm bringing on the show to show people the same thing 50 Cent said here. Now, again, 50's got the gangster background. He's got the exciting story. But again, the requirements are the same for the regular people, you and I. We glorify and sensationalize the things about 50 Cent that, are, the gangster thing has a lot more appeal. But the same requirements that he had to have in business, which most thugs don't have his business acumen, his ability to do what we're going to talk about further in this. So he was, again, approached by Glasso for a $150,000 endorsement deal. Most Americans would take that deal. And this is what I'm going to connect. You say, well, how does the earlier thing about women not investing in men for the long term? The same mindset is the reason why men most likely choose bad mates that they're going to have kids with. And I'm going to say this. Most of the guys that you like up front are not going to be the same men that you like longer. I know my wife at times does not like me, but what I know is that she has a longer appreciation for me as time goes on, seeing more and more what I'm specialized at as we are getting older, 10 years now together, that she wouldn't have with a guy that she had all the upfront humph for. And they say burning desire. Yeah, you got to have a woman with burning desire, but guess what? Desire wears out like all things. I think men mislead men in saying that a woman needs to have long-term burning desire. Because again, men are not thinking long-term. They're talking about, they're talking about burning desire, but burning desire, anything that burns out. That's the problem with burning desire. What made older relationships work back in the day is that people had the mindset that 50 had about this. They were looking at long-term investing. They had a mindset that was towards long-term, which means that 50 Cent was actually making an investment. He said, instead of taking the endorsement deal for $150,000, which most of us would have taken, he had enough insight to see further past that. But again, it was not without its challenges, not just on the investment alone. We're going to talk about this, and then I'll play it in full at the end. The thing that he did have was he had connections. This is why it's important to expand your network. You cannot just have somebody that looks just like you. I've had Jewish lawyers pull up business contracts for me when I was engaging with Caucasian business clients, business partners. I didn't just go, let me employ a person that was skin color oriented. I put someone who could perform the job and get me the results that I wanted. If you're going to exist in this country, which again is not set up for the personal taxable employee, it's set up for the business minded people to win. This is why you're losing. I've had family members say, hey, I want to be a millionaire. But again, you do not have the base requirements because your mindset is limited. Anyone that wants to be a millionaire, I don't care what country you're in. You could be in India, you could be Russia, German. It don't matter where you are from. You still need these base requirements, at least in the US, to be successful. And 50 Cent, first thing he had was a connection. Someone saw his video, okay, and then they made a call to a person that they knew who was associated with them. So his ability to have a wider network of people who were skilled and had other resources, access to other people, and they all weren't black. They weren't all in their his own race or religion. And that's the thing. You got to be comfortable being a minority in the room. That's the only way you're going to grow. You see all these business short clips on IG talking about being uncomfortable. You got to do things out your comfort zone. Well, guess what? Where are you uncomfortable at? Because if you're comfortable being in a room full of people that look like you, guess what? You need to go to a room where people ain't like you. That's what I'm talking about. I had a walk with a person today, one of my neighbors. He's from India. I see him walking every day. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to walk with you. He's like, okay. And we had a conversation. I asked questions and I listened and learned. The reason why I wanted to learn about his culture, not just his culture being from India, but what it's like from a real person living in that country. What were misconception or misconceived notions that I had about his country? Because most Indian people from India, they all are of darker pigmentation. I didn't know that they had a caste system, which sometimes is an economic base, sometimes it could be culturally based caste system. Look it up, learn for yourself, just like I did, or they can have an economic based caste system that works on many different levels, much like we're going to in the United States. For all you people out there that thinking it's all about race, guess what? We're moving into where it's going to be elites versus the people who do not have. Elites versus the people who can be controlled. What 50 shows here again is that his friend Chris Lighty, the person who at Glassell saw that video, obviously they love 50's music. So again, you had to have somebody who liked the opposite culture, the rap music, saw his video. They snuck in something that they probably shouldn't have had, but they saw it as an opportunity to get 50 to come in and invest or endorse Glassall water, vitamin water, quarter water, as they call it. 50 now has the ball in his hand, and this is where most blacks fail when it comes to business. And it's not just blacks, it's people who do not have the understanding of business acumen. Pay attention, folks, because you're getting free game that you would otherwise have to pay for. Your IG motivational videos, your YouTube shorts, or the ones that you listen to with all these motivational speeches, they're not going to break down something to the ground level like I'm doing. This shows who you keep around. That's just as important. It may be people outside of your community, your race, ethnicity, but your association. Having homeboys around and people who are not going anywhere in life, who are not doing anything in business, when you look around and you see the people around you, if they're not doing business, if they're not doing business with other people, if they're not having business meetings, if they're not in chamber of commerces, if they're not members of anything, but they're just a whole bunch of people with ideas, you probably need to find other friends. And again, you may not have friends around in your life at this point. But what you can have is people who, because of your business acumen, they actually will show up when you need them better than family will. Trust me. You have to have people around you who will bring value to your growth. I've got cousins wanting to do business, cousins that are in business. You know how many times I talk to them about business ideas? They'll say, that's a great idea. I need help. I'll say, okay, I can help you. They won't even pick up the phone and call. I'm not going to chase them. But I am going to see year after year after year of the same excuses being made. And that's the thing. They keep on making excuses. They're trying to figure things out. They're trying to grow. Instead of sticking to people who are successful, they rather stick to what's comfortable. If you're at home and you're sticking in business and you're around black, whatever entrepreneur, if you're sticking around people and you're comfortable, you need to find someone else who is above you or going in the same direction. But you need people who actually are doing stuff, not just talking about doing it. You need to have people who are doing, not talking about doing. Okay. We're going to play this a little bit further. Excuse me, let me get my mouse up here.
Instead of taking cash from them, I actually wanted equity in the company. It was a very aggressive ask, and it caught Glassell off guard. They weren't opposed to the idea, but they were nervous about getting into business with me on that level.
Okay, so again, now here's one of these things. I'm going to go back to, 'cause I'm black, so I'm going to go back to the black problem now. We heard that he countered. They took the meeting. They said, hey, we're interested in. He said, yeah, I like that, but let me give you a counter offer. He had enough sense to invest. Now he's not taking any money now. He's changed it from they want to pay me to I want to invest in them. This is where people fail again. They don't want to invest into a business. They want to do things and ask for equity, but the business is already brought up. But again, when you want equity, you got to bring some cash with you. Or you have to have an amazing talent that promises some kind of equitable outcome, which is why most businesses will take you on, because I've talked about this with IP. You've got a lot of great ideas, but you don't have a business to show for it. Or you've got a great product that you want to place in there, but you don't have the capital to fund it into mass production. You're asking another business, they're going to say, great, but we're going to own that IP. You give up the IP for profits. Guess what? They didn't steal from you. It's called a business deal. This is why I'm talking about you need to own a business. You need to be business minded because you will be around other people who are in business. And the one thing that will hold you back is yourself. Because again, the moment you start going to, I don't feel comfortable in here, I need to go where I feel supported, that's going to be your failing. Don't think that this is only unique to black businesses. There are tons of white business owners that they may have only gotten support from their parents. Just because Jeff Bezos got funding from his mom and dad, it don't mean that the other family and friends were all there to support him. We just assume that's the case. But 50's saying right here that Glasso, they liked the idea, but they were a little apprehensive. So again, he had some objection that was coming up, and we're going to hear that right now. This is what I'm talking about. Now, again, he could always flip into the black card. He could always flip to that it's racist. He could always flip to the usual defense mechanism. But again, 50's going to show you how to grow here. And I'm going to play it back so we can go over it again in its totality. But I'm going to break down my points first because you're going to hear me. And that's what I'm talking about. Instead of being around people who got a whole bunch of excuses, you need to start looking for people who have mother solutions, okay? And that's game. That's bars right there, as Mr. Fantastic 824 would say. Shout out to Mr. Fantastic 824, man. I love listening to you and supporting you. Shout out to Angry Man and Coach Greg Adams, too, and Better Bachelor, Joker on Better Bachelor. I do listen to all them. I find them highly entertaining. 50's going to tell you now. So as a black man, he's pushing out 50 Cent G Unit. He's pushing out all the bang bang murder shoot 'em up gang, but he's got in the backside where everybody's buying that BS, that bull. He's talking that real to Glasso, vitamin water. He's going to tell you right now, they have opposition or apprehension about his image. And what does he do? Does he claim, oh, I'm black, they got a problem with me? No, let's hear about what he does. Because again, this is further evidence of good business acumen.
They only knew me as a rapper who'd been shot 9 times, and they weren't sure they wanted to be associated with that sort of energy. I needed to put their minds at ease, so I took a meeting with the company's CEO.
Right here, CEO, doesn't look like it's a brother, but he took a meeting with them. He said he wanted to put them at ease, which means he was aware of his own cultural rap status. He was aware of it. He said, I got to do something about eliminating implicit bias that they may have. I've been claiming to get shot 9 times. That works great with the black community, but it will not translate when it comes to dollars in a white business company. It won't. So again, right here, anybody who's wearing thugged out do-rag, pants sagging, and 10 boots, you're going to have to do something. Now, we don't know if 50 showed up in 10 boots or G-Unit outfit. We don't know if he came in there with chains or whatever else. That's not the point. But I'm sure in order to do what he's going to eventually accomplish, he might have went in there in a different way, in a different manner, which means that he might have lost the do-rag with the New York fitted. He might have lost some of the chains. And back then, what used to be people used to wear basketball jerseys over a t-shirt and baggy clothes, not the skinny jeans stuff we have right now. And that's no shot to the young people. It's just whatever your style is that shows that you are who you are according to the culture. He had to come in there and change things because he was looking for outcomes. Equatable outcomes. Here we go. We're going to continue on to listen to this. So he took the meeting.
I didn't show up with an entourage, just Chris and me.
Okay, let's stop there. He did not show up with the homies, the homeboys. He came in there as a person. He didn't show up with everybody in there looking to thug and impress. He came in there as face to face. He understood what it took to get a deal done. Not excuses, solutions. Continuing on.
Expressed how much respect I had for their brand. I was already a loyal consumer. I didn't give off the arrogant attitude or aggressive energy they probably were expecting.
And again, what he did was he did not give off the attitude of showing that, hey, I'm a from the hood, that all I know about is the N and all this, right? He changed his acumen, his conversation. First thing he had to do was check himself, not them, not their bias, not whatever else was going on. He had to change all of that to show, hey, I'm serious about doing this deal. I'm serious about coming to you, talking about equity. I'm serious about, hey, getting shot 9 times is not something I'm hanging glory on. I'm a loyal supporter and I respect your brand. He gave them respect. It says it right here, 50's own words. He gave them respect. And by giving respect to another culture, which was probably a white business owner, we just saw the picture there. I want to assume his race, but it wasn't his. He had to come in and be respectful. And when he did, a conversation opened up about him allowing him to be profitable. And this is something else that blacksmiths is that we come in thinking that we should get stuff handed to us. But again, we don't do anything about people's seeing what our image is as a whole. And 50, he has the most uphill battle to go from correcting image. At least with a person such as myself or a regular layperson that's black or anyone else, you only have to contend with what is being pushed as your image, what is being sold as your image. 50 had to contend with his real life, what he created. The gangster profile, which he's done all he's done, his being shot and everything that comes with him being associated with that element in that world. And the first thing he had to do was show respect to them and say, hey, I understand that I have this image, but I'm about my business. I showed them respect. I didn't come in with a whole bunch of people. I came in with me and the person that you all know, Chris Lighty. And we're going to sit down and do this meeting. We're going to talk some real numbers because I want equity.
I presented myself as someone who saw a special business opportunity and was prepared to work to make it happen.
Oh, that's the other. Oh, we got a sin being made now. He was prepared to do the work. Oh, my goodness. This right here is the part that everyone misses in this whole thing. We see 50, we see the money. We see 50, we see the success. We see this, we see that. But 50 said that he had to put in the work. So again, he said, hey, if you give me this chance, I'm going to show you not only about I'm going to take this money and push it into the company. I'm going to show you the labor of my efforts. I was prepared to work to make it happen. 50's own words. He was prepared to make it work, to make it happen. Another thing that the company, maybe 50 said this on his own, or maybe they asked him this. But again, when you want to get into business to become a millionaire, because you ain't going to do it working no 9 to 5. When you want to do that, you need to be able to put in the work. He said he told them he was ready to put in the work. And he talk about street work. We're talking about him doing enough to change his image into 50 Cent that we see nowadays. Because I don't see 50 Cent out there talking that G-Unit bang bang stuff. I see 50 talking as a polished businessman. That's what he's going on to do, shows such as Power and work with megastars. I mean, again, I don't know if he's cross paths Michael B. Jordan, but if he's got Omari Hardwick, he's got other actors and high profile people. He can actually make decisions, and he's putting people in places to take advantage of other opportunities. He's done shows as Power. I mean, again, he's brought talent to Power and created something that's been a mega hit, but he wouldn't have done it if he was keeping the 5 on the black hand side and pro-black, biggie, blackity black. He had to open up gateways to be able to bring other people opportunities. And what he was willing to do was work for it. He wasn't interested in what they thought about him and his culture, his race. He understood that what he had to do was show respect and show that he was not talking bubblegum and all the pop and stuff. He was talking about doing business. He was talking about working hard to get achievable outcomes, and he was investing in for the long term. So again, when women are still picking mates that they're going to have, potentially have children with, because, outside of, that certain things are now illegal where you got to keep that baby, supposedly, you have to be picking men based upon their business potential, a long-term investment mindset. Women got degrees, but are they good investors of men? Are they making long-term investments? Because Glassol or vitamin water or quarter water, whatever you want to call it, ended up being sold for billions of dollars. And 50 had enough to not keep it street, not keep it hood, not keep it 100, not keep it wood, whatever you want to call it. He had to drop the do-rags and put on some actual suits and the pants and iron clothes that would dry clean to actually make something happen. And occasionally he had to go back to the uniform that everyone could identify and keep his hood points up with. But in his life he was living, he was not doing the same thing. He went back at Queens, hanging out on the corner. He was moving in different circles outside the network and place that he grew up in. Something else that's required of people. And the other part is that talents. Are you talented enough to have people around you that have talent? They are good at something. Or do you have people around that are wasting your time? Same thing for the ladies. I'm teaching you how to make good business decisions on getting a quality man. Taking lessons from 50 Cent that he could teach you how to be successful in life. If anyone, having a father that wasn't there and a mother that passed when he was very young, being raised by grandparents, he is quintessentially the poster child for the Black community as far as in all the uphill battle that you have to do in order to become successful in life. Not a two-parent household, everything else. And he's showing you how it's still the requirements are to elevate yourself out of your own ignorance and that mindset that is prevalent in the Black community. He had a plan. He didn't go into the meeting. That's the other part. He had a plan when he took this meeting. He didn't go into this meeting with just a whole bunch of ideas. He understood his opposition, the things that this company, Glasso or Vitamin Water, Quarter Water, he understood the opposition they had to him in his image. And what he did was he had a conversation to understand that he was about making the work, the results achievable. Because that's what they were interested in. This wasn't about racial equality. This wasn't about racial anything. This was about, hey, I preach all the time about being shot 9 times, and Glasshow doesn't want to be dealing with places where bullets got to be flying. What they wanted is someone that could push a product and make dollars make sense. And 50 Cent's case, they wanted dollars to make sense. Let's continue on.
My approach helped them get over their apprehension, and we were able to strike an equity deal. During the commercial,
and again, his approach got them over their apprehension. It wasn't like they weren't interested in having a gangster rap or a rapper, street rapper invested to their company. But again, he needed to show them something other than just having money and being about it, dude, being ready for that action. What he did was that his approach, for one, he was like, yeah, I'm interested in an endorsement deal. But when he got there, he said, you know what? I don't need to bring my whole entourage with me. What I need to do is come there with the guy that they know, that they can vouch for. He can vouch for me. Because right now I'm not showing them what I perceive as the Black way of doing things. You come in with a whole bunch of people. You got the Wu-Tang version of doing things. Everybody, one mic, and there's 8 people and everybody got a rap. Everybody come in a business meeting and stand around an ice grill, no qualifications to make any business decision. They're just standing around, just sucking up air. If anything, bringing down your value, the value of your network. What he did was he brought Chris Lighty with him, someone who was talented and he was associated with, to be able to make sure that what he was saying, that he could translate or fill in any gaps. So he knew his own capabilities and limitations. He also had someone who was talented, meaning that the guy reached out to Chris to say, hey, bring 50 in, let's talk. That was the importance of his network, which we've covered in other videos. And then also 50 didn't come in with having an idea. He came in with having a plan, which means that he could explain to them, I want to invest, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I'm willing to tell you what I need to do or listen to what I have to do in order to work. Let's talk some details. And he dang sure didn't play the race card. He understood that presenting hood image was not a good play. He did his research and understood the business component of it, the importance of image. If you're going into a bank to open up a business checking account and you're doing it with your pants sagging, with whatever Nike shoes you got on, because you're trying to keep it real, don't be surprised when you do not get the outcomes. 50 Cent already saw that his image was a problem. His presentation was an issue. His history was an issue. Again, but what he did was he realized what he was lacking. He had a person next to him, Chris Lighty, who was actually able to vouch for him, and he changed his approach. His changing of the approach, not bringing in all the homeboys there, sitting down and having a conversation, presenting as Curtis Jackson, not 50 Cent, not I've got swag or validation. He understood that he was talking to owners of a company that they have interest in making sure that their shareholders get profits. And in order to get the bag, as we say, what did he do? He changed his approach. He let them know, hey, I want to invest. I'm not looking for you to pay me. I'm looking to invest, which means you suffer, I suffer. You don't make money, I don't make money. But what I'm willing to do is invest in you first as a business. And I want equity in return. I want percentages if we both can make this thing work. And on top of that, I'm willing to do the work to make sure that we get that outcome. Now, what you will not see happen is, again, people do that in business. What they want is for you to build it, and then they want to take equity from it. Now, unless you have a contract, in most cases like I did, where you actually are asking for concurrent or current revenue or equity from the company, and they sign to that, then that's the only situation that you would actually say, okay, well, I don't have to produce anything. I can live off the profits right now. But you need a lawyer for that. You need a contract that says you get equity off of what's currently being made now, not based upon something that you would consider IP. But that's what you need a lawyer for, someone who knows what they're doing. And 50 dropped that pride and upheld the business image. I've said it before. I've seen places where I've gone and done marketing exposés. I've done places in New Jersey where I've sat around and having black businesses in a predominantly white area set up to flourish. All these, Eric and I, my marketing manager, we've been to places, we've done videos with them, black businesses set up in a predominantly white area, and they can benefit. And I've seen people drive that potential away because they didn't feel comfortable being the only blacks there. Even though they were okay being in there, even though we had white clients coming up and buying from them too, which would expand their network, expand their audience reach, expand their clientele reach. This would make better sense in business because you have now access to another market. And I've seen them pull that back because they didn't feel more welcome enough being black. What do you need to, why does it have to appease you when the outcome is to make money in business? And that's what I'm saying. Let's listen to this in total again.
My Reebok sneakers that showed me working out in the boxing gym. We snuck in a shot of me taking a sip of vitamin water. A friend of Chris's who worked at Glasso saw the spot and reached out to see if I'd be interested in an endorsement deal. I agreed, but I counted with something different than the standard endorsement deal. Instead of taking a 5 or 6 figure deal to appear in the ads, I wanted to invest in the entire company. Instead of taking cash from them, I actually wanted equity in the company. It was a very aggressive ask, and it caught Glassell off guard. They weren't opposed to the idea, but they were nervous about getting into business with me on that level. They only knew me as a rapper who'd been shot 9 times, and they weren't sure they wanted to be associated with that sort of energy. I needed to put their minds at ease, so I took a meeting with the company's CEO. I didn't show up with an entourage, just Chris and me. I expressed how much respect I had for their brand. I was already a loyal consumer. I didn't give off the arrogant attitude or aggressive energy they probably were expecting. I presented myself as someone who saw a special business opportunity and was prepared to work to make it happen. My approach helped them get over their apprehension, and we were able to strike an equity deal.
Okay. And that right there shows you the totality of what is required in order to really be successful in business and in life. Like he said, again, having people around you that the guy at Glasso or Vitamin Water, they knew Chris Lighty. 50 understood what he would be up against because they had concerns about his image. He saw that. He knew that being shot 9 times was going to be, and company's not going to like that. He wasn't on the race card when he went in there without a group. He said, hey, I want equity. They said, hey, we're not opposed to that. They're not opposed to taking a black person's share in there. But again, devil's in the details. He had to do his homework. He had to do some research. He didn't come in there with a whole bunch of ideas. I tell people all the time, stop listening to people who have ideas that do not want to do the work. They don't want to do the labor, and they're not invested in getting a qualified outcome. And again, if you're engaging with a business and you're taking pay over equity, and again, in order for equity, anybody who wants to do equity, they should be coming with investment money. Nobody gets equity and you put zero into the business. Zero. That's something I had to learn the hard way when I've run into failed business dealings with other people, is that they didn't like the fact that my contract said that actually I had equity regardless of what I produced in the future. Because I had a contract that said it's not going to be me putting in all this effort, all this labor, and I'm going to get nothing out of it. I want to get paid for my labor and time right now through your current profits. That was a boss move on my part. Shout out to my lawyer, Mike Lutz. And we had conversations about that specific item in the contract, and they accepted it. 50 says again that he went in there without all his homeboys and the crew and everything else like that. He came in business minded, which means that he presented in a way that was in a business fashion. I'm sure Chris told him, yo, drop the G-Unit sneakers, man. The do-rag and the hat got to go. You need to let these people know you're serious, man. Now, think about it this way. When you're going into a bank applying for business credit, you have a business that you want to set up, and you're asking the bank to pretty much give you access to their banking system on your business. The first thing people do is look at you and shake your hand. Everything from down to how you smell is going to matter. But again, and I've been in places too. Shout out to the Melanin Market people. I've been in there presenting my business. We wear khakis. We wear uniform Ancestrylands shirts with our logo up here. Everyone is dressed in a similar fashion. Polos, whatever you're wearing, you need to wear slack shoes, and you need to wear this polo. Or any Henley shirt. You got to have the uniform on. We have to look business minded. Yeah, we're not a big old company like Fortune 500, but we come in and our image is you're approaching a business, a real estate company. No one is smelling like, they hit the backwoods earlier because we're presenting in a business. You don't know who you're walking up to. We've met congressmen at the Melanin Market, council people. You don't know who you're going to be associated to. But again, what I had people coming up to me, pants sagging, teeth rotten, talking about they could do drone videos for me. They could do this for me, that for me. And the first thing they did was did not present themselves and being qualified. Now, again, people would say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. But in business, how you look does matter. How you smell does matter. You coming to me with sneakers or you coming to me with dress shoes on? That does matter. Because again, if you want to be taken seriously, you wouldn't walk into a meeting with Bill Gates or Warren Buffett that way. Why are you walking in there with me? That means you don't value me. And again, I wouldn't take a meeting with them at all. I don't go to the bank. I go in there in a suit to do business dealings when I'm asking for a business line of credit or a credit card, or for them to open my bank. I'm wearing a uniform that says, hey, I'm a person that understands the value of money, not a person that's sitting here because I don't want to give up something to get something. And 50 did just that. So again, if you're not doing that in a year's time from now, don't be surprised if you still don't have the results, because you can't put the weed down. Because you can't go in there. You can't change sagging pants to a business suit. You shouldn't be surprised. What 50 was doing was not complaining about how black he was. He was in there making business deals. And that's how he succeeded. But he wasn't going to do it coming in just because I'm 50 Cent and I got a little bit of money. He was actually putting some labor, some foot to ass, and he was actually doing the work. And he got the deal. He got the equity deal that he wanted. But again, when you're asking for equity, you are investing in the company. I don't know how much he got, but his percentages were probably based upon what he was investing into the company. You don't ask for equity when you haven't invested in the company, or your shares will reflect the investment that you'd have or had not made. And again, you need to have a lawyer or someone there who knows what the hell they're doing. He brought Chris with them to make them at ease. And he wasn't being defensive. He was being open about it, understanding their concerns and saying, hey, what I need to do now is give you the respect that you deserve, because again, I want a piece of your action as a company. He didn't have all this pride and everything's about my race. He was looking at, I want to get this business done. What businesses want are people who are intelligent, people who actually represent well and present well as well. He eliminated preconceived notions, such as him being shot, that image, that part that they had a problem with. And again, if you're making excuses on why you don't want to listen to this, then again, show me where you're being successful having other results. If you want to catch big fish, you need to go where the waters are deep. You're swimming in a shallow pool. You shouldn't be surprised when you're hungry later on after you're eating a little minnow that you call a fish. That's what we have. So many people making excuses instead of creating solutions. And he had a plan. He didn't have a whole bunch of ideas. He didn't come in there with, no, he came in there with, hey, I've actually got this money. I want to make an investment. How much do I need to invest to make it work? I've got to do what I got to do to get the resources pulled together to be able to show you all. And what do I need to do to make this deal happen? And I'm willing to do the work. Whether that's work on myself, or I need to actually work and do something extra to show you that I qualify for the outcome that I want. And again, men, you should be treating every aspect of your life like this. I'm going to go into why that matters and why that connects with the US being a place that the tax code is created for businesses. I'm going to explain that to you. It actually happened on a walk this morning. I'm walking with one of my neighbors. He's from India. He's a, what do you call it? A Mulish. It's from southern India. And as we're talking, I explained to him about the US tax system. And he asked me, does businesses pay taxes? I told him, I said, and shout out to Curtis. I shout out to 50 Cent for that. I want to give 50 proper respect. Shout out to 50 Cent. I've actually listened to his audiobook. I guess it's the 50th law. He's done stuff with Robert Greene. I mean, look at what 50's done. But again, he didn't get in those places because he's just a great business acumen. He had some internal reflection that he looked at and said, hey, I got to make this happen and I got to change some ways. And again, that's what's required. I mean, he's just as hood as anybody else, and he made it happen. And again, you see 50 in suits now more than you see him in hood talking about. He ain't talking about none of that stuff he's talking about. Same with Jay-Z. But again, in our community, we don't look at what they're doing when they're getting to these elevated places. We want to stay back at Jay-Z when he was Hove, 50 when he was 50. We're not looking at what it took for them to get into the upper echelons of society, that they had to change the way they do things. But most people are not willing to drop the blunts and the do-rags. They're not. I wouldn't hire someone who was sitting here coming up to me with, he smells just like he got done smoking one. I mean, you can, but why are you bringing that to me asking for a business opportunity? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I won't hire you. And if I was in a Fortune 500 company, you wouldn't even make it through the door. And you can say whatever else. And the reason why, if you're walking out in public on a substance, it is a substance, and you don't have any self-awareness of that, what that is, how can I be doing a potential deal with Chase Bank, JP Morgan and Chase, anyone else, a Fortune 500 company? How could I be sitting there doing business with Warren Buffett or anyone else for that matter? And you walk in and that's what you represent. That's how you look. Jay-Z's in business deal with other companies wearing suits, not wearing the latest ghetto fashion. Why is that? Because he'll ruin a deal before it's even created based upon his appearance. Your appearance in business shows your business mind. Now, when you own the business and you are a person of top value, you're the top dog, you're the echelon, the H&RC, or you're the H whatever, you're the head don. You could dress how you want to when you have the more money. The top dog gets to set the rules. But when you think you're a top dog and you're in a room with other sharks, that's not going to work. That's why when you watch Shark Tanks, everybody in there is dressed in business attire, including the black ones. But I digress. That's the problem, right? We don't want to make those kind of changes because, again, we don't want to change to make success in our lives. We want to stay the same and just request success come to us. And I'm going to ask you, how can you graduate school if you didn't have to change and elevate your mind? How could you graduate high school or college if you didn't have to go through constant metamorphosis through your growth, through your age, through your mind? You had to get more mature. You had to study hard in order to become an A student. No one went to school and just went through school and never had to study one bit to become an A student. And if it did, it's an exception to the rule. It's not the rule. So again, for all of us looking at these megastars and how they did it, you got to understand that it takes a Herculean effort in order for you to become successful in life. And if you want millions, you got to do what's required for millions to come. If you want equity, you have to invest in a business with your own dollars, and it can't be on a payment plan. It's got to be cash you have right now. If you say I'll take the pay up front or I'll take the hourly wage, you're not going to get the equity that you're desiring. Because again, you've only come with ideas. That's one of the biggest problems. The US tax system, I'm going to talk about this. And this is just free game, folks. I'm going to explain this to you in very simple terms. And I explained this to a person who actually is here on a visa. He asked me if the businesses pay taxes. And this opened my eyes when I explained it to him. I really didn't even know I was saying this. And folks, again, you will never get this up front because, again, you have to pay with your attention and time to get this game. And I'm going to prove to you why, if you do not own a business or do not plan to get one, you will never be able to outpace what a business does and get ahead when you're trying to get a high-paying W-2 job. You won't. This is why I keep talking about people building businesses. The U.S. tax system was not set up for regular tax people. The reason being is that I explained to this person that was a foreign person that was here. I said, once again, if you are, and I took it as a family, I'm going to set it up this way. When you are a person, like I have children that are 3 children, you get a standard deduction, you get itemized deductions. In order to go to itemized deductions, which means that you can write off line by line expenses, you have to hit a certain threshold past the standard deductions. Otherwise, it's better to take the standard deduction. Let me look up real quick to make sure that I have the standard deductions, but they are. And I know people, again, we get into the part that, people obviously, this is the part where people start heading out. I'm going to go on and talk about some stuff and everybody going to go leave. They heard 50 and they done. It's okay, folks. It's all right. For those that stay or watch it on the replay, I appreciate you coming. But every time I start talking about money matters and facts and sense, stuff that actually could change people's lives or elevate their mind, we seem to get a drop in the viewership, because if it ain't dumb, it ain't fun, right? But the standard deduction, this is for 2020, is $12,950 for single filers, $25,900 for joint filers, $19,400 for head of households. Okay. They're slightly up from the previous year. The reason why I say that the US tax system was not set up for businesses, because I know we're only listening to when we hear a businesswoman and saying that, we'll listen to it on Instagram or wherever else, is that what you can write off for expenses in a business is far greater than what you can write off when you're a family member or a single person. For that reason, that's one of the main reasons why. Now, again, my neighbor I talked to, shout out to you, Anish. I had explained it to him because there's a language barrier. Exactly why it's better to own a business, because when you have a family, I have 3 children. Okay, I spend money on my children, violin practices, right? Now my wife and I, we file joint filers, $25,900. Okay, that's the standard deduction that we can take. We would need to go above that, and that is very arduous for you to do as an individual. And it definitely can draw some scrutiny when you're going up there. You have to be very and consult a tax professional. And I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just giving you my business understanding and my assessment living in the United States for almost 42 years. When I've learned the tax system, and I've paid about $60,000 in business taxes because I made that much money, and I did not understand 2 years ago what I know now. I've only been in business for almost 5 years now. I'm learning as a business owner how this matters. I explained to him, I said, in this country, when you're paying taxes in a W-2 job, you're going there and working, you get paid for giving a large amount of your potential. You're trading that for $50, $60 an hour. Okay. And I'm going to bring up some Yahoo articles that support some of the things that I'm saying, as far as in the double, triple whammy that you get hit with every day, that most people do not realize is the reason why most people will not actually have upward mobility in this country. The reason why I say you need to have a business. So you can write off, let's say if you're single, it's $12,950. For a couple or joint filers is $25,900. Okay. Of that standard deduction, does your expenses for having children go above that? Because I can't write off my kids' violin practices. I can't write off my kids' sneakers. I can't write off most of my kids' clothes. I can't write off the multitude of things, my kids' entertainment, their enjoyment, their food cost. I can't write that off. When you have a business, I told him, I was like, if your family was a business as opposed to your family now as a parent, most of you give your wife a gift for Christmas, for her birthday. Your wife buys clothes, you buy a car, you buy most of the things that you could buy. Even you buying a home, you can write off the interest. You cannot write off the major purchase, the down payment. You cannot write off so many things that put that into a business, and do those same things you can now write off. 100%. So the Jordans you buy for your son, because you're buying them as dad, I love you, son, Merry Christmas is your birthday. Those Jordans that are $200-$300, you cannot write those off as an expense, because it's not a business. It's dad, I love my son, I'm paying for my wife, I'm paying for this, we're going on a vacation. Okay, same vacation we're taking to Maui, Hawaii. We cannot write that off as a business. That's just an expense that we're paying interest on. And where did I get that money from? I got it from my 9-to-5 job that I've paid taxes every time I've gotten paid. And then also, so you get a cut there. The government takes your money, says, hey, thank you. We're going to take out what we qualify as taxes from you. And what the government's going to do is they're going to go and spend that money in making investments, give you back that same amount of money. Okay. Shout out to somebody. I love when I do my podcast and people make payments for land. Love it. They're going to take that same money and they're going to make money off that same money. Take $100. I'm just using basic numbers, and they're going to make $150. You can give you back your 100. Okay. So you already lost once in that first tax. You gave them money. They made money on your money, gave you money back. This is where you get your returns. Okay. The second way you're going to take another hit is that you pay a state tax when you purchase an item. Those Jordans, you pay a state tax. You get hit again. Okay. It's the second time your money's been hit. So you pay taxes up front. They take out taxes out of your income. In nursing, we have to pay nursing dues. There's EBI or SSI and all the state and local taxes that they take out again. That's also being taken out too, folks. And I know we have probably no one watching now because we're now at the point where you would have to learn something. So you're going to get it taken out there. Then on top of that, we got this old little thing called inflation. And I brought that up before in another video. I'm going to open it up again. What was that? Inflation calculator? When did I do that? Inflation calculator. I'm going to try to bring that up. Let me see here. I don't want to. Smart assets. I love this part. Smart assets. I'm going to share this with you all because, again, I want to make sure that you all understand what I'm talking about. So the first part, we talked about it. The government's taking money out of your taxes. First hit. The government is making money off the money they've taken out of your taxes. I've had to explain this to my wife numerous times because she loves getting back those fat old refund checks. Now, you're living a life. You don't have a business. You're working at a job. You're getting paid so much, the most money you've ever had as a citizen of the United States. Okay. I'm going to go back to this calculator because this is an inflation calculator. You all have access to this. All you got to do is do like I did, do so well Google search, and you can go in there and inflation calculators. Okay. And I know, again, I'm walking this through because I want to make sure people actually take the time to get this knowledge. You're going to go to Smart Asset with no S, smartasset.com, investing /inflation -calculator. I'm going to put it up here to the top. Actually, I can't do that. And what this does is it allows you to put money in a basic number here, because I talked about this on my interview with Alex Coombe. It allows you to take the year. I'm just going to use a basic inflation rate of 2.5%, although we know in some cases they talked about inflation being up 7, 10, 15%. And this shows you in 10 years what that money will look like. So you get the first hit. You get the first hit on the government taking out your tax dollars, taxing you right away. They take that money and then they go and make a profit on it. Yep. They invest it. They make money. They make $150 and send you back your $100 at the end in total refund. Or they don't pay you anything because you don't owe taxes, or you owe them, whatever the case. Then also you go to buy Jordans for your son because your scorer got to have that drip, that he got to have that game, that res to make sure he talked to the old tenderonis. You got to make sure that you get that new car, right? Because you're buying as a private citizen. You don't have a business. Your wife wants she wants to weave, or she got to have her hair done or her nails done. She got to have the vaginal rejuvenation, right? Your daughter got to have her hair done. She got to have the nice clothes. Your son got to have this nice clothes. You need a car. Your wife don't want a car that's a 2-year-old car. She want a brand new car. She got heated seats, but she don't appreciate it. She wanted an Altima. You got a Ford Focus or a Ford Fusion. She's mad. Paid for in cash. When you make that purchase, you have to pay state tax. You are taxed again. You're taxed by the government first when you get that check. The rest of your money, you're now taxed at the state level. When you make a purchase for an item, okay, you're paying state taxes. Oh, if you have a local internet bill, you're also paying local taxes too as well. Don't forget about that. You have a cell phone, you're paying local taxes as well. So now we have the third layer of taking a hit. And I explained this to a person who was considered a foreigner in this country working on an H1N1 visa. Now, after that, you're now taking the same $100 and you got to contend with this thing they're talking about called inflation. Okay, this is where you're going to take another hit on your income. This inflation calculator shows you that the same $100 in 2023, mom and dad, I hope you're listening, because my parents tend to listen. Whatever number that you want to put in 10 years, it will take the same $100 at 2.5% interest. In 10 years, the same $100, you will now need to pay $128 for something that costs $100 now. So that means that whatever you're making right now, it's inflation every day that inflation is rising. the value of your $100 is actually being lessened, where it takes you more. It takes you $128 to pay for something that has risen 2.5% over 10 years. If this does this in 1 month, you now will need 28 extra dollars to pay for something that is $100. So if your son's Jordans cost $200, you now need $256 to pay for the same thing. The price tag will not change, but the amount of what your dollars are needed to purchase the same thing, it will. It will go up. You'll be paying $250 for the same Jordans, wondering why Jordans cost more. That's why. Conversely, when you're, and again, everything you as a parent or a single person spend, you actually only have up until, what is the standard deduction for singles? $12,950 for that. If your rent costs $1,000 a month, you have already hit you've already touched the bottom end of this threshold for living expenses at $12,000. That's if your rent's at $1,000 a month. My wife and I pay over $2,000 a month for our basic living income. That doesn't account for if you have anything else to spend: car insurance, car payments, food, groceries, anything. You have children, add it up. Okay. So now that you have inflation now putting the final seal on taking away your dollars now, you as a parent are paying for everything. You are paying for way more than you can write off. This is, again, why the tax system was not set up for individual citizens. It was set up for businesses. Conversely, your expenditures in your household versus a business, you can't write everything off. When you own a business and you have an EIN number, you are registered in your state, you have an LLC that people can look up, you have a bank account, you have an EIN number, you are now generating income and you are paying taxes, but you can write off expenses that are made within the business. The same thing that you're purchasing, that same vacation my wife went on to Cape May, if we actually were doing it with some business model in mind, that $4,000 trip that I took her on would now be 100% written off or claimable upon. I will write that off as an expense, as opposed to the $4,000 that we took before I had a business and I was not able to write it off. I'm not giving you tax advice. I'm just explaining the difference between write-offs in a business and write-off when you're in person. The clothing that you buy for business purposes, you can claim as a business expense. Dinners that you have for business purposes, again, check with accountants to confirm this game, you can write off as a business expense. You cannot do that when you're doing it, when you're buying baby girl or wifey the same clothing. Can't do it. There is rules and provisions that allow you to buy vehicles that weigh over certain pounds. 100% can be written off at the purchase for business. Can't do that when you go and buy a car for your 17-year-old who's now driving. This is the reason why you need to own a business. Key component is a business does have to be making money, but again, 100%, if your living expenses, if you rent, if you have an apartment and you don't own a business, you're an individual, you're a single person, you are already at $1,000 a month, reaching the standard deduction, which is $12,950 if you just pay $1,000. Everything else that you spend per month, if it's date to go get that girl's cookie, if it's dating or whatever else, you paying for drinks, dinner, movie, booze, booty, whatever else, those BBLs, they cannot be written off if you're paying for them not having a business. Now, I don't know, but maybe a BBL could be written off if you're doing it to enhance and you're a booty model and your business is all about booty. Fleece Williams, booty is the most important thing. It was worth more than air, water. You go up to them and tell them I like you and I want you. And we could do this the easy way or the hard way. It was all about booty. So you can possibly get your your BBL written off if it is under the appropriate business write-offs. But you can't do it when your girl over there trying to keep homeboy from leaving you to go mess with the next girl with a BBL. It won't work the same. Again, check with your local tax accountants on this game. And when I started explaining that to him, I said that the ability for a business to write off expenses is far more advantageous than what you get with standard deductions, and they only go up by a little bit year after year. You have your taxes on your W 2s being taken out by the government. They're making money on that. I mean, again, think it this way. You go to your neighbor, say, yo, I need $100. The neighbor lends you the money and they make 150, right? They take that and they take that $100 and give it back to you, and they made money off of it. You get your $100 back, and they made $50 off of it. I mean, you getting hit the first way. Then after that, you got to pay state tax, local taxes, city tax, county tax. Look in your phone bills, look on your cable bills, and you'll see you pay local taxes, regulation tax, right? Sewer tax. You're paying taxes on everything else, except if you live in Florida or Texas or other places that don't have state taxes. Then on top of that, you got inflation eating away at your dollars every year, right? What about in raises for employment? And again, this shows you in 10 years, the same $100 will be worth $128 with interest. Inflation. That means it will take $128 to buy the same thing that you have now, that in 2023. In 2033, you will need $128 to pay for something that is $100. This is not an interest calculator, meaning you're going to gain more money in that way. Which brings us up in the rear what I'm talking about here. And you're looking for raises, right? Raises, right? Well, let's take a look at what raises are doing right now, right? Here, Yahoo News, okay? I always like to give you the news because I want to make sure. What inflation? Many employers will offer less generous pay raises this year. Generous? They're not even keeping up with inflation. Pay Scale this week came out with a highly anticipated 2023 compensation best practices, which turns out to be a mixed bag for employees, smaller raises, maybe semi-annual salary bumps, and a dollop of extras to make up for companies' Scrooge-like behavior. The bad news for many of us, people who don't have businesses, fewer employees plan to bump up salaries this year, but inflation is going to go up. Best believe it. Costs of food and goods are going up. Best believe it. Only 8 in 10 organizations said they will offer a base pay increases in 2023, down significantly from more than 9 and 10 last year. So next year we can expect less employers. Oh yeah, did we not just cover Mark Zuckerberg cutting Facebook jobs, Jeff Bezos cutting more jobs? So there won't even be people getting raises, there won't be people getting paid. Fewer employees committed to giving base pay raises. Fewer employers committing to giving base pay raises, which means most of us will be doing the same work while still getting same taxes docked, state taxes docked, and inflation on the same goods and items taken away each year. Yep, folks, you got it. There says the best surprising bit after all of that is about the labor shortages and the stress of retaining workers who are more than happy to hit the X's for higher paying and more opportunity at another employer. It says, for those of you who work for a firm that doesn't plan to provide annual salary pay bumps, don't expect the cork popping raises to help offset the current inflation rate of 6.4. So if I go back to that let's go back to, oh my God, 6.4. That I gave you a range for 2.5. Do you not see how your dollars are getting eaten away at the last little bit? It's costing you more to buy items on top of that. First, the government takes your money. Then after that, you get a state tax. Then you get your local and city taxes. And then on top of that, you got inflation chomping at your bits at a rate of 6.4% stated. Okay. Although more than half, 56% of employers surveyed that say raises should be above 3%. That's not even covering inflation, which means you got 3.4% of inflation still chomping at your dollars. And you don't get to write off any of the expenses for you having children. You get to claim your children, but you don't get to write off the overage, the amount they give you. It costs more to raise a child each year than it does for what you get to write off for having a child. So let's stop the foolishness now, and we can start understanding that again. You're getting killed on all sides. You're getting just deteriorated on all sides. And again, I would urge anyone that is thinking about retirement and Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare, you need to really think about whatever money that you will be getting. You need to go and look at this inflation calculator and see how much at 6.4% in 10 years your $100 will go. A lot of people are happy and buying into a number today. In 10 years, that number will not be the same amount of money. And we have more news to support that for all those people on food stamps. This comes by Yahoo News again. JJ McCorvey and Rob Weil. With food stamp cuts just days away, millions of Americans brace for tougher times at the grocery aisle. Don't think the inflation is not continuously going on. Remember, if you're getting food stamps, then you're at the lower economic end. So again, low income workers, again, this is why you need to have a business. When pandemic aid that boosted food stamp benefits gets cut next week, millions of low-income Americans will confront smaller balances in account they used to pay for groceries, leaving food banks bracing for a spike in demand. The SNAP benefits will end in 32 states, District of Columbia, Guam, and U.S. Virgin Islands. This means that recipients will see their monthly grocery allocations reduced by at least $95. And I guarantee right now, this looks like, I probably will not see, please don't spam the chat. Whoever this is, 69 Mega, get him out of here. Moderators, get this person out of here in the chat. They need to be gone out of the chat. Block them. Okay. This is not about spamming my YouTube channel and my podcast. Please respect the podcast. All right. We're not interested, buddy. Thank you. Get this person out of there. They will be blocked at the IP level. Your IP address will be blocked. We do not need you in here spamming the chat. This is for about helping people, helping Americans, helping people at large. We do not need you spamming our chats in here. You will be blocked. Moderators, get this person out of here. We're talking about the SNAP benefits being cut. So again, if you're not building a business, where are you going to get extra income from? Services that you can be useful to make money off of. You can write more off. Again, if you're having lunch, why not have a lunch with business in mind? So you can write off some of your expenses. If you're going to be paying for it anyway, why not put business into everything that you do and do it the right way, owning a business, so at least you can write it off as a business expense within reason, what's acceptable. But again, what we're doing is seeing that, again, Charles Jones, 63-year-old U.S. military veteran based in Rockford, Illinois, received an enhanced monthly SNAP benefit of $281 under the temporary program. Again, this is the problem. These government benefits do not last. But we're sending $500 billion over to Ukraine. People, don't forget, when you throw up your Ukraine flags on Facebook, don't forget these benefits that are now hurting more American citizens, that we could have used that money to support people actually having benefits, social benefits, for all you socialites out there. His payments will plummet to $23, the minimum monthly payment. It's a veteran. This is a U.S. military veteran that has to go down to SNAP benefits for $23 a month. When they cut this extra benefit from SNAP, that's going to put me in a serious problem, and he will not be alone. And again, this is why I'm talking about you need to have a business. There are many of your expenses that you're paying right now on that, again, they're not being written off in 100% the same way. This shows you right now that, again, if you're purchasing items, the food that you purchase for a business trip, you write those things off as expenses for business. And I'm not telling anybody to go out there and do any illegal, but again, when you have a business, some of the same things that you would be purchasing if you went on the same vacation, if you're doing it with pro business in mind, that whole trip becomes 100% write off. But again, the one thing you'll never hear people talk about, because I love all these clips I get sent or the ones I get seen or shown on IG, is that you need to have income, profit coming into your business. But you're not going to do anything if you don't have the business mindset, the criteria that we talked about that 50 Cent had when he was doing his water deal, the quarter water deal. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to show you even more things to validate what I'm saying. Because my wife and I get in this conversation all the time, and I let her know that what we're dealing with is something that is affecting everyone. You cannot outrun inflation if you're not bringing in more income. You need more income in order to outbeat inflation. Getting a 3% raise at your job, even if you got a 3% raise, will not do anything if inflation's at 6.4% stated inflation. If it's at 10% because you live in a higher metropolitan area, well, even that more of a difference. Americans are now saving a paltry 2% of their disposable income. That means money that you paid all your bills. Here's what's left over. Credit cards are paid off. This is income that you could do on fun stuff. Down from pandemic peak of 34%. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, all of the fixtures of a normal life came screeching halts. They said everything from happy hour to vacation, expensive gym memberships, all gone. Don't do them. Can't go anywhere, right? Even as the doors closed on those things, a window of opportunity did open. All that money consumers have spent on the frivolity or fun instead went towards building up their savings. So they built up their savings. In April 2020, personal savings rate spiked to 33.8%, the highest it's ever been since January 1959. Great job, America. You were putting money away instead of pinning it on booty shaking and popping. As of November 2020, they're now saving 2.4 of their disposable income. Many people are barely able to save that with increasing percentage of workers of all income brackets. So again, the problem is people will not do any research. They will just say, hey, I don't care what's going on with the rest of the world. It's all about me. But again, it says that 2.4% of worker or disposable income is being saved of all income brackets. Everyone is being touched. Now living paycheck to paycheck. So if you women are with a man who does not have you living in a paycheck to paycheck, maybe you're living in every other paycheck to paycheck, you should be counting your blessings. If you've made a long-term investment into a man of worth. All the single independent ladies out there, tell me how you're doing here. Really tell me how you're doing. Is it as easy as you thought it would be when you made a decision to leave him a long time ago? When you're not getting the outcome for your kids, giving them less quality of life, talk about it's all good. But with layoffs already happening, see, that's again, we think we can do bad all by ourselves. We don't see now that inflation is catching up. You're not getting pay wage increases. You don't have everything that you're spending money on. You cannot write it off as if you were in a business. You need to align men and women alike. You need to align your life with a business model. And you need to have the majority of what you do in a business that is creating profit, that is getting capital. Everything should be tied into there. Have a business, rent your place. Everything that you can possibly get into moving into a business, you should be doing everything within a business model. When you're picking a partner and mate, it should be within a business model. Because again, if two people own businesses, most of your life can now be conjoined. This is why you see a lot of couples in Elena Cardone, Grant Cardone, they do things together. The children, everything is involved in the family business. So most of the stuff can be written off. It's not a secret. It's just most people won't take the time to get off their phones, stop playing Xbox, stop looking at BBLs, stop looking at stupid stuff. Are you smart or dumb? On Facebook and actually start learning some of this game. Maybe you should tune into the podcast Live with Uncle Phil and actually you'll learn something. I mean, I'm funny too. And if you are in a business and you do have it, donate to the show, $ ancestrylands and $ on Venmo and write it as a charitable donation to this podcast for all this game you getting right now. Now you have, again, we talked about it. You add that in, you add the job layoffs. Oh, okay, I'm going on government assistance. SNAP is getting cut. Again, we're not staying together. We're end up trying to become individualists, shorting our income. And we have dependents. We're not getting 100% write off in expenses like we would if we had a business. We're not doing that. We're not doing like 50 Cent and thinking of a business mindset. We're on broke people politics. And the US tax system is not set up for you to operate in that way. The more you operate like a business, the more you will be able to circumvent the problems that everyday people are going through. But you got to have two people or one person that understands this enough. When we talk about savings, we're referring to whatever disposable income you have left over after subtracting your expenses. I went through that. If you're finding there's not enough after you pay your mortgage, utility bill, car payments, and whatever else two options you have, you can increase your income or lower your expenses. When you're on a fixed income and you retire, you no longer can increase your income. You only have expenses. Even if you lower your expenses and you live like a hobo or a minimalist, you still have inflation biting at the bit on your dollars. This is why I'm trying to talk to people about retiring and they won't listen because they have more life experiences, but they're not looking at the stats that show that inflation will eat at your dollars. When you're 60 and retiring, in 20 years, you will be 80. You will not be able to go back out there and get more income if you need it because you are 80 years old and not able to work. You don't have a business to write off 100% of your expenses, or the majority of expenses that you can, because you are a personal citizen living off W-2 or government assistance. And in the SNAP case, government assistance will actually, it will be rechanged, reformulated, or it will be cut because, again, these programs do have budgets and budget cuts come, Congress makes decisions, and the axe falls down where it may. Even if you have a house paid off for, you still have property taxes, which can go up depending on if your property's high enough or valuable enough. It does not mean that your medical issues will not become more costly. You want to go on the government system, but that doesn't always mean you get the top government care. Try all the operations that were in the pandemic that could not get to, that were on a waiting list. And again, you need to start building and owning businesses. Again, you're working W-2 jobs and you are not building businesses, and the things you spend, you cannot write off. You generally have to take the standard deduction. And if you do, you're going to have to pay thousands of dollars to get a tax person to actually go through itemizing. It will be more expensive than your RNH block or your tax turbo. All the sites that you use to give you quick, easy way to do your taxes. But if you try itemizing, it's going to start running you up some dollars. I paid $1,200 for my land taxes and my personal tax, my family taxes to be done. You're going to run that. It's not going to be a couple $100s. You need to build businesses to write off income. You need to take lunches and talk about business, building your business. I'm not just saying take it off for the write-off, but you need to actually be moving towards doing business most of the days in your life. When I go out to eat, I go to Texas Roadhouse. Shout out to my marketing exec, my marketing manager, my marketing exec, Eric Valdez. We go out to Texas Roadhouse and I have dinner with him on Saturdays. And we actually, we talk everything about business, where it's going, what we need to do. This is a business meeting, had it for the purpose of that. And we're eating steak, everything we want. You need to be building businesses. That's the whole point, to get these write-offs, because otherwise you're paying multiple ways and you're not getting any write-offs. You've had people such as Trump talk about this. They've been telling you this game the whole time. And again, Live with Uncle Phil is giving you this game step by step, breakdown by breakdown. And again, you should have a qualified CPA that can help you navigate on how to set up a appropriate business. I'm not talking about these ragtag. You need to have an EIN, you have a business checking account, a business savings account. You need to build some business credit, and you need to start working into those points. If you're young, you need to start building and saving up and investing in so you can do these business techniques to help save you a lifelong pain of expending, writing, having expenditures you can't write off. And when I started explaining this to him, he really started to understand that you're getting taxed multiple ways. A refund is not something you should be happy about when you get a tax refund. But that's what they want you to think. Let me give you back $5,000, $6,000. If you get back that much, the government's made way more off of you. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. No. But what I'm saying is that how can you win, get ahead in life? How is your marriage going to suffer? How is your dating viability? Young men, how are you going to be able to compete with more economically astute people, such as myself, on a dating market? I mean, I'm married. I'm just saying, if I went out there, when I have all of this game to be able to teach someone, if you're not building towards that purpose, you're not building a business, building towards there. You're going there talking about when I retire. Okay, great. You're going to retire. You still got to deal with inflation. You still got to deal with taxes. You still got to deal with increased cost of medication. Great, I'm going to retire. I'm going to be, is there a plan, or are you just going to have the outcome? I retire. Retiring is not an outcome. It's just a milestone. That's the problem I have when people talk about retiring. I'm going to retire. Okay, when you retire, what is life going to be like? If you retire at 62, 65, 70, and you live to be 90 years old, what are you going to do economically for those 20 years? And most people do not think about it until they get there. And then it's, oh, let me get my center. Oh, I don't know what to do now. I'm 75 and I've got a hip replacement, or I got a double knee replacement, and now I need income. Now I've got to go sell it. Now I'm not prepared. But I had it all figured out when I was 60, and I didn't listen to someone trying to talk to me about put the numbers in and see what you come up with. Now we'll listen to Grant Cardone talk about you need about what, $5 million to retire on. And I've got regular people over here telling me that they're going to retire off, $8,000 a month. Yeah, it's good now, but you not even done any inflation calculator to see what that money's going to be worth. You're not doing any of the numbers. No one wants to do math. No one wants to do math on it. And again, you could save yourself a whole lot of heartache and pain by educating yourself. You got all of this stuff coming up. I'm showing you all these numbers, the SNAP program, the inflation calculator. Again, the inflation's at 6.4%. If your raise is only at 3%, what are you doing here? And they're going to cut your jobs and save even more money, and you still don't have anything to write off. Oh, I'm going to get government assistance. The check's all drying up now, folks. What the government's done is that they provided you a nice little loan, and what they've done is now they're pulling that money back into the system, and what you're left with is you conditioned to live high off the hog, and now you got to go back down, and you still don't have anything to write off. And the thing about it is, this person who is not from this country, not native, understood that, and people who lived there their whole lifetime still are missing the boat. It's a shame. And the shameful part about it is, I hope I'm going to keep this replay up because, again, I want this to be an education. I want to be entertaining too as well, but I want people to understand that, listen, man, you can watch all the pretty young girls on there saying dumb stuff. You can watch all the videos about young women who have no clue. You can watch all the podcasts about people talking about every little bit of stuff that matters. But again, when are you going to take time out to invest in yourself and invest in your future? Stop watching the 50 cents make the $1 million deals or get upward economic mobility. Start building businesses. Start looking at what I'm pointing out here, job cuts. I've just walked through how you can understand inflation. If you're dating someone right now, you should be showing them this stuff and see if they get it. If the girl or guy tells you they don't believe in it, you need to say, hey, baby, we done. Because again, you can lead me nowhere but to the end of a cliff. Guy or girl, this is preparation that you need. But what we have is no one's going to do anything until the train is left, until you can't get any more tickets, and you're left right there in the station of desolation. And it's a shame because you have the ability to access this knowledge. You have the time right now to build businesses. America needs more businesses, more American businesses. We do. And everybody's like, well, I don't know what to do. Again, your network and resources. 50 Cent didn't get it because he was doing the Reebok Schnu thing. Then he got the vitamin water because, again, his network. That's the problem. People don't know what to start a business on. And I would ask you, who are your network of friends? Who are the people that you hang around? Who are the people that are talented around you? And that's the reason why you don't have a business idea, because you're not around other people who are building businesses or being able to pay you for your talents. There's no equity talks. There's no offerings or anything else like that. And again, the other reason why might be why you don't have that is because you don't have the labor of effort that's required for you to be successful. Everyone wants to be a millionaire, but in order to be a millionaire, you've got to maintain being a millionaire. You can cross the line, but you can't keep it, because you got to be able to maintain millionaire status. You got to be able to have the skills to become a millionaire. Any idea any idea that's worth its weight in is worth its salt still requires you to overcome challenges, have a diverse network, have resources, have ingenuity, have a certain level of intuitiveness. And you have to actually know some stuff. You got to actually know some things. You can't just walk around and bullshit your way through life and say, oh, I got it because I've got a good idea. And the last part of it is you got to actually really do some freaking labor. You got to actually be really taking them feet. The shoes are made for walking. Well, you got to put blisters in them things. It ain't going to happen any other way. My closing thoughts, folks. Closing thoughts here. I've shown you all how women make the biggest mistake of their lives, in the sense of not getting into relationship with investment in mind. The importance of having relationships in a business mindset, understanding relationships and the need of long-term investment, and having conversations with people when you engage with them, when you're spending a lot of time with them and you're building a relationship. You need to have conversations about things that actually matter. When I say things that matter, like, hey, how do you handle economic things? What's your understanding of inflation? Do you have any business ideas? Things can we build together? A relationship should be talked about what you can build together, not how many times you boom boom and then boom boom. It shouldn't be on you writing off expenses. And if it is, if you're going to take her out, you should be doing it under a business. If you're going to buy her a drink, it should be talking about some business. That'll eliminate all this foolishness. And again, are women wasting their time spending their good years of their life with a guy who ain't? I mean, seriously, how many ain't people out there are around other, or you say, yo, you're a good quality, you're a good cat. Okay, well, why are you around ain't? I mean, really. If you are, then you should talk about it. I mean, you don't see Michael Jordan hanging around with bums. You don't see Michael Jordan hanging around people that, I mean, Scotty don't even like Michael because of what happened. But again, Michael exists in his realm, his era. If you're so bad as you say you are, you're so high value, man or woman, then you should be in an area where the quality reflects who you are. You cannot be a millionaire hanging on the street attitude. I don't know many millionaires that are all about the street stuff. They got to have some level of actual business acumen. And we've seen inflation is biting at the bit. You're in a W-2 job and you're not working in some kind of business. I'm going through and showing you folks how to build businesses. Women, invest in a man that actually is going to have an outcome for the future. Not the not right now guy, but the down the road later guy, because you can build with him. You actually have some labor, some equity, some sweat equity into your relationship. Not somebody who you got because you beat out the other competitions. That's not going to get you anywhere. It's not. We're talking about expenses, cutting expenses, but really what you need to do is generate more income, which is why you need a business. Even right now, I'm making payments. People are paying on land right now, sending payments in to own land. People paying just land. Somebody made $500 payment for land. Getting paid while I do the podcast. You know, for having a business. And then again, I got to go out and say, okay, how can I write off stuff and still generate a profit? Having a good CPA, worth their salt. And dealing with people who have conversations about this. My wife and I have conversations about this all the time. And she's learning too, because we're having an engaging conversation about business. May not remember it, may not be the best business person, but again, if she leaves me and goes with another guy, what does he have to offer in the sense of conversation a year now? My wife and I have been together 10 years, and we're still having a conversation about business. We're talking about inflation. We're talking about stuff that actually matters, that we can pass on this knowledge to our children. And again, if she thinks she's going to just get rid of me and not another person is going to say, I want a man of value, that's again the same create the value. But again, now she has to look at other men and say, are you qualified to be with me? Because what do you know about business? I mean, if you're talking with a person who has almost, I mean, look at Mackenzie Bezos. She, another divorce. She's not with a Jeff Bezos. Maybe she shouldn't have left Jeff in the first place. Maybe. Any which way, folks. I am your host, Philip Davis. You have had, hopefully, lunch. Hope you're getting out of work right now, or maybe you're entering in your lunch break if you're on the West Coast. Stay warm, West Coast people. Stay warm. I hope you've been enlightened and entertained and mostly educated. Ancestrylands.com is where you can go and find properties that you can own. $1,000 now, $250 a month, no interest, no credit tax, folks. And thank you for the people who have been reaching out, because I found a lot of people interested in owning land. Some people want to pay cash. I'm like, this is great. Subscribe to the channel, folks. Like, share, comment on the video. Let us know what you thought about it, what you have to add in 2 cents. If you don't have any business ideas, folks, again, I would say change your circle, change your network. Because again, if you're around people who are creating or talking about business, you will get an idea. Problem is, you're around people who have nothing of value to offer. The conversations are not about anything about business. And you need to transfer to a business model, even within your relationship. They talk about building business together. And again, if you're going to ask for equity, you need to be investing. No one gets equity and they're just talking about getting a payout. Then you need to have an overwhelming amount of skill in order to receive equity. Most people don't want to understand that. Build a business, folks. You heard it here. You heard it live with your Uncle Phil. Phil Davis, Ancestrylands. More now listening to Uncle Phil. Live with Uncle Phil, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you have a great start of your week. Happy Monday. If you be happy about a Monday, you know what? Every day is a blessing. That's why it's called a gift. Present, gift, right? And what you got to do, folks, is take advantage of the day. Thank you for listening. I'm your host, Philip Davis. I hope you've been educated, enlightened, and entertained, folks. Ancestry Lands. See you later. Have a good one. Take care.